The man's big hands wandered around the soft waist. As the skirt of his clothes slipped, the two bodies were tightly pressed against each other, and the girl was forced to bear everything the teacher had to do. Lena's parents lived abroad because of their work and could not get the warmth of family. She fell in love with literature. In this ordinary day, she met Miller, an elegant teacher. The warmth and care the man brought to him gave Tina a desire for love. The two had a great time when they first met. What's more, Lena also read a book written by Miller, which surprised Miller. The adolescent girl actually liked such an in-depth article and told her wife about it when she got home. Angie's thoughts were the same as her husband's. Just then, the phone rang. While his wife was talking, Miller turned to his favorite book again. After dinner, the two turned on the music and danced together, and the atmosphere around them gradually became ambiguous. At this moment, Guan Anchi asked him to wash the dishes. Miller, who was tricked by him, smiled helplessly. The next day, Miller and his friends drank coffee at the stadium. They talked about the dark forest opposite and wondered whether there would be ghosts there. At this moment, Lena walked out of it. He came to the two of them, and Geraint curiously asked Lena what she was doing in the forest. Lena said she was listening to music. When Geraint heard this, he thought he was weird, but Miller admired Lena's calmness in being able to be alone. After being refuted, Golong realized his mistake. In order to express his apology, he let the girl taste a biscuit made by himself. The three of them didn't chat for long before Gran left in time. At this time, Miller asked Lena if she would be scared inside, but Lena said that she was the scariest thing there. Miller laughed at his words. As the scene turned, Golong was entangled by a female student. He deliberately dropped things to attract Golong's attention and then chatted with him in an ambiguous manner. Golong was not tempted by him and walked out after seeing all this after he left. She encouraged her good sisters to keep up their good work. At night, the two sisters chatted in the room, talking about their parents who were far away in other countries and the difficulties in their studies. Jenny encouraged her not to be decadent and asked Tina to write a paper on the relationship between teachers and students. Use erotic clothing to interpret the pursuit of freedom. The thoughtful Lena seemed to have opened up a new world. The first object of her attention was teacher Miller. During the period of observing Miller, Lena was impressed by the charm of her mature man, and her purpose began to change. No matter how simple. The women eagerly hugged the man in front of them and felt the crazy passionate kiss. Their desire reached its peak at this moment. As a left-behind child, Lena loves literature very much. In order to achieve academic success, he plans to edit a paper on the theme of the temple to expose human freedom, and the source of the material for him is his teacher Miller. On this day, Lena came to visit Miller at home. He originally just wanted to learn something useful for his thesis, but Miller asked him to attend a poetry salon, saying that he would definitely get a lot of literary enlightenment there. Miller then mentioned the article that Lena had recently submitted. He recited it fluently and praised Nina as a gifted student. Lena was very happy to be recognized by the teacher. While chatting, Miller talked about his book. He told about the criticism of the book by well-known critics, which made him feel a little sentimental. At this time, Lena said frankly that she liked that book very much. He thought it was a romantic horror novel. After that, he began to recite Li Nian's favorite passages. The feeling of suddenly meeting a close friend made Miller red-eyed, and the atmosphere between the two suddenly became a little strange. The next day, Miller had dinner with his friend Grand and met Jenny, a student who works part-time here. He was very happy to see teacher Grand because Jenny liked him very much. It's just that Jelong has his own teacher-student principle, and he ignores these emotions. At the same time, Lena followed Miller's suggestion and came to the poetry venue. He and Miller sat together and discussed the speaker on the stage. The emotion in the article made Lena feel alive, and she couldn't help but turn her attention to Miller. After the speech, the two came outside to talk. Lena looked at the man who took the cigarette from her hand and couldn't stop thinking about it. He wanted to really try that crazy teacher-student relationship. Since then, Lena has often appeared by Miller's side. Miller and his friends were chatting that day, and Lena came over with 3 cups of coffee. They chatted for a few words, and Jelong left because he had to bake cookies. Lena sat directly next to Miller, and her words were quite ambiguous while chatting. Afterwards, the two came to the classroom to talk about their thoughts on literature, and Miller admired the talented Lena even more. Before leaving, he invited Lena to a party on the weekend. Soon the two met at the agreed place. Lena dressed very sexy. Miller's eyes lit up. Under the wash of the heavy rain, he finally put aside the shackles of morality. The girl removed her restraints, seeking more intense comfort, and her desire was quickly answered. As the mayor, Miller fell in love with a female student behind his wife's back. After returning home, he kept thinking about Lena. His wife noticed her husband's absence and tried to ask what happened. But Miller pretended that he was very busy at work and turned around and went to his independent study. He was reading the teacher-student love article written by his lover Lena, which showed his and her desires everywhere. The next day, Miller advised Miller not to continue writing this article, but Lena insisted on her idea. Seeing Miller's unusually determined attitude, she understood that Miller was beginning to fear the relationship between the two. During Lena's angry questioning, Miller said nothing, and the two fell into a cold war because of this quarrel. Lena sadly came to her sister and told her about her tragic love affair. With the comfort of her best friend, his mood eased a lot. On the other hand, Miller and his wife returned home and told the story about the student's unsavory essay. Angie was aroused by the content of the article and told the story to her husband Miller. During the Cold War with Lena, Miller couldn't help but miss him, and soon he couldn't help but look for Lena. But the incident was discovered by his wife. He was very angry at her husband's betrayal, so he reported the incident. School leaders immediately summoned Miller and Lena. Instead of concealing Miller's guilt, Lena truthfully told the details of their relationship. In this way, Miller was dismissed from the school and his career plummeted. Life is filled with ridicule from many people who mock his wife who once loved him deeply for not forgiving him and ultimately choosing to divorce. Miller has since left town. Lena, who had been surrounded by warmth, once again returned to loneliness. But this experience did not make her decadent. She began to move towards the literature she loved and pinned her emotions on words. Years later, he became a popular author.